We think we know what we need. We spent our time figuring out how to get what we want. Who can help us, who's in the way. We make our moves, and sometimes we get lucky. We get exactly what we want. And life gets worse. Simple truth number 22. Be careful what you wish for, brother. Be very, very careful.
Prison, the big house, the can, the bucket, the pen. You get the idea. Now, many correctional facilities were made to rehabilitate people who did crimes and get them ready for when they leave. Give them a new, fresh life, like all happy, all rehabilitated, no more drugs. Wrong. In many cases, people in prison will still do drugs, get in fights, and will even, be killed. Minus, the death penalty. And some will even join gangs. And they will even, stay affiliated with the gangs they had, were part of before they were in prison. So, yeah. So today, I'll be explaining all of them. Almost. I'll be talking about every single prison gang in the United States. So, no gangs in South America, Canada, UK, South Africa, just only the United States for today. And there isn't a definitive number for all prison gangs in the United States, but law enforcement officials identified many security, threat groups in the federal system, with over 20,000 inmates have been affiliated with prison gangs since 2008, and even larger, years earlier. It is estimated that there are tens of thousands of many, prison gangs active across the United States. And most of these prison gangs are, majority geographically and racially divided, with about 70% of prison gangs are either in, California or Texas. So, let's, discuss them for today. And let's get into a bit of history first with how prison gangs even started in, many Christian facilities. So, prison gangs did not exist in the United States before the 1950s. Before this, prisoners had followed a convict code, which has said the following: do not snitch, do not steal, do not lie, and pay your debts and do your own time. If an individual had followed this code, the person maintained a high social status and would support by other peers. And they violated the code, on the other hand, they would either be ostracized and in danger of becoming a victim of prison violence. But throughout the 50s and 1960s, larger prisons would soon be built as many people would soon be coming into prison, as population has soon surged. With so many new individuals, the convict code was not enough to keep many people safe in prisons. Alongside doing this, many prisons had soon started to become desegregated, and had soon many of these prisons would soon be very large, and this had even caused many violence in many prisons, because it was during the 60s, and so the convict code didn't really matter anymore, and many groups had soon started to form, as members of these groups had pretty much shared a commonality such as race or ethnicity. And in these times, these small groups had soon evolved into prison gangs, and the individuals that had joined mainly for protection. However, once in the prison gang, these individuals had engaged in drug trafficking and were responsible for selling contraband inside the Christian Institute and even outside of it as well. And prison gangs are also predatory. Their members imitate other prisoners as well as many Christian officers. So yeah, and prison gangs aren't just really in one area of a state. They can be all across America. And some of these gangs even have different chapters, such as the Aryan Brotherhood and the Mexican Mafia, which have many groups in many prisons in California and prisons in Texas. And many of these prison gangs will even have connections to other real-life gangs, such as the Aryan Brotherhood have many connections to many white supremacist groups, and Mexican Mafia even have many support from many other Latin American groups as well. And of course, there is also corruption inside the prison system, as many Christian officers will even work together with some gangs to even give them money, sneaking phones, drugs, and whatever. So let's get it out of all the way. Before we start, I just gotta say, you guys should watch Oz. It's a really great show, a very underrated show. It's really good. It's really, really dark and violent. So that's all I gotta say. But first, let's start. The Mexican Mafia. Now, the Mexican Mafia, or known as Mafia Mexicana, also known as LAM, if I said it right, is a predominantly Mexican-American prison gang and criminal organization in the United States. Despite its name, it has no origins in Mexico and is entirely a U.S. prison-based organization. as law enforcement had pretty much reported that this gang is the deadliest and most powerful gang within the California prison system. As this was formed in 1957 by 13 Hispanic street gang members from different Los Angeles neighborhoods who were incarcerated at the Duval Vocational Institution, which is now an adult state prison in Tracy, California. And founder members have formed a gang in order to protect many Hispanic inmates from other prison gangs. As one of the founders of La Me is Luis Hero Buff Flores, I said it right, who was an active member of the Barrio Hawaiian Gardens gangs in Hawaiian Gardens, California. As gang warfare between many Hispanic neighborhoods was normed during the 1950s and 60s, so the fact that Luis Flores were able to get established enemies to set aside their rivalry upon entry into prison was something that was not really well thought to be possible. As soon as 1961, violence had gotten so bad at the institution that the administrators had transferred a number of the charter of La Med members to San Quentin Penitentiary in the hopes of discouraging their bad behavior, which had failed, of course. And soon, Cheyenne Candela, who was one of the mob bosses of the Mexican Mafia, had arrived on the lower yard of San Quentin and was met by a 6-foot black inmate who had kissed him. And soon he came out later and stabbed him to death. And despite there being like more than 1,000 inmates on the yard, no witnesses had stepped forward to like say, oh, Cheyenne did it. So yeah. As soon more slayings were soon having followed as Mexican Mafias had fought to well establish a reputation among the inmates of San Quentin. As Mexican Mafia quest for complete control had alienated other Mexican American inmates who were fed up with the Mexican Mafia stabbing, killing, and stealing their watches, rings, cigarettes, and anything else of value. And some of them secretly founded a new prison gang called Nuestra Familia, who will be, well, the Mexican Mafia longtime rivals, and still to this day. And still to this day, there is Mexican Mafia still active, and there's also another Mexican Mafia branch called the New Mexican Mafia, which was formed around 1974 when a group of Hispanic inmates at Arizona State Prison, Florence, had formed a prison gang known as the Mexican Mafia, which soon had confused them as the Californian Mexican Mafia and the Arizona Mexican Mafia, which soon had to change the name to the New Mexican Mafia. The Mexican Mafia is also connected to another larger group of gangs called the Cienos, how I said it right, which is Southern United Raza, which is a gangs in Southern California that are well paid respects and affiliated to the Mexican Mafia in many outside of prison. And these gangs also include the 18th Street Gang, 38th Street Gang, the Venice 13th Gang, and the Westside Locos. And many tattoo symbols of the Mexican Mafia include images of a black hand, which is a gang primary symbol, which is often used in tattoos by members. And many street gangs are even like aligned or part of the Southerners, well, that's like allied to the Mexican Mafia, even use the letter 13 to identify themselves in the street. And according to the FBI, the Mexican Mafia had arranged for contract killings to be carried out by the Aryan Brotherhood, which is one of their major allies, as both of them are mutual enemies of the Northerners, or the Nuentos, which I'll get into later, and many other African American gangs, such as the Black Guerrilla Family and the DC Blacks. And even though homosexuality is, well, banned from entry into getting into the Mexican Mafia, they also engage heavily in homosexual prostitution in the prison system, as many prison gangs even do. Alongside even outside of prison, they pretty much connect to many street gangs that's pretty much causing many street fighting, such as drive-by shootings, dealing drugs, and many more. And these are the notable crimes throughout the decade that happened. In the 1950s, we even see the first prison guard to be even murdered by the Latin Me, carried out by Doido Sleepy Bencourt and Frank Moose Bazier at San Quentin State Prison in 1958. And the first ever murder outside of prison happened in 1971. A Mexican Mafia member, Alfonso Alvarez, was found shot in the head. As he was pretty much shot for not supporting many Latin leaders behind bars. And he was pretty much shot by Joe Morgan, who was one of the first non-Hispanic members to even join the Mexican Mafia. In 1991, there would be a stabbing when Benjamin Topo Peters and Rene Boxer Inquiries had stabbed another member, Salvador Berto, was it right, in Los Angeles County Jail. And he survived the attack despite being stabbed 26 times. And recently, in 2022, a fight had broke out between members of the Mexican Mafia and MS-13, a United States penitentiary in Texas, causing 2 fatalities, leading up to all U.S. federal prisons being placed on lockdown due to fear of more attacks on these gangs. As this gang is one of the largest and most powerful prison gangs in the American prison system. So yeah. Also, you guys should also watch Blood In Blood Out. It's a great movie. It is heavily based off Mexican mafia and the Aryan Brotherhood, as they pretty much fight for power in the prison. Also, the movie is really long and it's also really sad. So yeah.
White bitch, give me some chon chon. Stay away from me.
Nuestra Familia. Now, Nuestra Familia, which is Spanish for Our Family, is another Mexican prison gang at origins in Northern California. As the street soldiers, which is similar to the Mexican mafia Southerners, they have the Norentos, which is a gang that is pretty much more organized in Northern California and is one of the major rivalries between the Serranos and the Norentos. They're organized in a correctional training facility in Solad, California in 1965. In the late 1960s, Mexican-American inmates of California State Prison System had begun to separate into two rival groups, the Nuestra Familia and the formed Mexican Mafia. According to locations in their hometowns, which is north-south diving in Bakersfield, California, the inmates who formed the Nuestra Familia gang band together to protect themselves from Mexican Mafia, but then grew into drug dealing, extortion, and robbery. And even though the Mexican Mafia had been initially created to protect many Mexicans in prison, there was a perceived level of abuse by many members of the Mexican Mafia towards the imprisoned Chinagos from rural farm areas of Northern California, which has led to ongoing war between the Nuestra Familia and members of the Mexican Mafia, which involved a 1965 situation where a member of La May had stole a pair of shoes from a Northern Dual Vocational Institute in Tracy. And this had pretty much put in motion to one of the longest gang war in the state of California. As membership is primarily a Chicano gang, membership sometimes extends to other Latinos and sometimes even non-Latino members. Members of the organization are considered to have taken a blood oath to join a gang and are considering lifelong participants, meaning you're in it for life. And the Brazilian Constitution allegedly states that no matter this, no member should prioritize women, money, or drugs over the membership in the gang. And membership even extends beyond prison, as there of course many connections outside of prison. And women are not allowed to become full-fledged members of the gang, but are sometimes used for communication and drug operations. So pretty much they're just couriers for the gang. And members of the NF are even known to wear red bandanas to identify themselves, as other symbols include the number 14 or XIV or the letter N and the letter, which is the letter 14 of the English alphabet. And they also even use images of the sombrero with machetes as the gang symbol. And there will be many investigations and prosecutions against them, such as Operation Black Widow, where federal law enforcement agencies have pretty much been long able to infiltrate many Nuestra Familia and begin to set up their own investigations in the late 90s. As in 2000 and 2001, 22 members were indicted on racketeer influence corruption organizations in charges including several who were allegedly serving high-ranking gang leaders while confined in Pelican Bay, and 13 other defendants have pleaded guilty, and some cases are still a bit going on, and 2 defendants even faced death penalty for ordering murder related to the drug trade. During this time as well, it's estimated around that the Nuestra Familia were responsible for at least 600 murders in the previous 30 years. So yeah. And they are still active to this day and still rivals with the Mexican Mafia. NETAs. Now, NETA is also the Association for Prisoners' Rights, or simply NETA, is the name of a gang that began in Puerto Rico prison system, but soon has spread to the United States mainland. And although Puerto Rico had many small street gangs claiming its poor neighborhoods, this is far by one of the largest and most dominant gang in, the island's prison system, alongside even parts of mainland United States. Founded in 1979 by Carlos Torres Erete, if I said it right, also known as La Sombra or the Shadow, when several pro-independence political prisoners were being incarcerated in maximum security Oso Blanco prison located in Rio Piedras. They formed a mutual protection group to improve living conditions and defend inmates from abuses committed by guards and other prisoners, as well as to fight the prison gang known as Grupo 27. As soon they became one of the dominant gangs in Oso Blanco prison in the early 1980s, but the conflict with the G27 still continued. As NETA leaders, even Carlos Torres Erete was shot and was stabbed to death by G27, along with the help of paid-off authorities, as he returned to his cell from prison chapel. During the investigation of the murder, the commercial authorities have found out that he was likely to be betrayed by his own lieutenants, and his lieutenants wanted to get in the business of drug trafficking in the prisons, which he had opposed. And after the death of their founder, Nettas had soon riot, taking over several wings of the prison compound and the prison pharmacy, where they stole narcotic medications to avenge the murder. And Netta members even started the death and dismembered the G27 leader as well, bringing him to the cell by the middle of the night and just chopped him up. And after this, they were soon taking over control of many facilities, prison facilities across the island. As the gang had threatened the prison administration into improving living conditions within the facilities and denounced and punished sexual offenders, pedophiles, and abusers, and exiled them to solitary confinement where they should not be allowed with the rest of the prison. It became such a force that the Puerto Rico Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation physically segregated Nettas and their rivals in separate buildings or facilities within the prison after this. And soon, Nettas was even spread to mainland America. The gang had a membership of approximately 13,000 members, with 7,000 mainly in Puerto Rico and 5,000 in the United States. They are one of the main rivals of the Latin Kings and MS-13. In the late 1990s, there were confirmed reports that Joanna Pomade, who I said it right, has been appointed counsel and leader of New York City chapters in 2001. She was convicted in a federal court in Brooklyn, New York, of ordering a gang-related killing in 1995 and sentenced to life in prison. And she's still, in prison at this day. In 2003, 7 leaders of the Netta Association will be arrested in Long Island, New York for stabbing and murder of 2 MS-13 members. And Netta gangs also identifies with the Boyacá Popular Army and the revolutionary philosophy and seeking independence for Puerto Rico. And the gang colors are red, white, and blue, which is the national colors of Puerto Rico. So yeah, they also support, Puerto Rico independence. Texas Syndicate. So this is mostly a Texas-based street and prison gang consisting mainly of Mexican-American membership. And Texas Syndicate, unlike the Mexican Mafia or the Nuestra Familia, has been more associated and allied with many Mexican immigrant prisoners. It was formed in Folsom State Prison in California in 1978 as a direct response to other California prison gangs, mainly the Aryan Brotherhood and the Mexican Mafia, which were, intended to prey on native Texas inmates, as many prison gangs were soon spread to Texas and other states. And the Syndicate is Texas' oldest prison gang, and the Texas Syndicate is approximately have around over 1,000 members, with the majority of whom are Mexican-American males aged 20 to 40. While the gang had maintained its headquarters in California, there are more prisoners in, Texas that's part of the gang, alongside with other, members even operating outside of Texas and even helping the cartel in some points. As many other street soldiers, part of the Texas Syndicate, have been reported to be in Austin, Corpus Christi, Rio Grande Valley, and Dallas-Fort Worth in Texas. As the Syndicate mainly operate in prison alongside the street gang, as their activities range from drug trafficking, extortion, prostitution, protection, illegal gambling, and contract killing, as they've been known to carry out many contract killings in America for Los Zetas cartels alongside the Gulf cartel. Aryan Brotherhood. The Aryan Brotherhood, or the AB, or the brand, is a neo-Nazi prison gang and organized crime syndicate that is based in the United States and is one of the largest prison gangs in America. And even though, the Aryan Brotherhood makes a small percentage of the entire U.S. prison population, it is responsible for a lot of prison murders over the past, decades. As the Aryan Brotherhood is focused on, many, economic activities and organized crime, which is usually drug trafficking, extortion, inmate prostitution, and murder for hire. The Aryan Brotherhood origins pretty much started right in the mid-1960s. As many prisons would soon start to desegregate, and many inmates organized themselves into gangs along many racial lines. And the Aryan Brotherhood is believed to be formed at San Quentin State Prison, but it may be also inspired by another prison gang called the Bluebird Gang, and decided to strike against the African Americans who were forming their own militant group called the Black Guerrilla Family through the 1970s. And the Aryan Brotherhood has soon started a long rivalry between the Black Guerrilla Family. Alongside the Aryan Brotherhood, even have connections with Charles Manson and the Manson family, as several members of the Manson family were in prison at the time, and they even attempted to join forces. Alongside, Charles Manson literally even scarring a swastika in his head. But it didn't last long after the Aryan Brotherhood took really offense at the murder of pregnant actress Sharon Tate. And they grew quickly in the California prison system and eventually started a race war with other prison gangs, but not the Mexican Mafia, even though, well, the Mexican Mafia is, well, majority Hispanic gang, and, well, the Aryan Brotherhood is, white supremacists. They're close allies with the Mexican Mafia. And Aryan Brotherhood were responsible for many murders in prison since in 1981, when Thomas Silverstein and Cleveland Fountain were charged with the murder of a black inmate named Robert Chappelle. Alongside started a riot in 1993 in Southern Ohio Christian Facility. And of course, with their tattoos is going to be, well, many white supremacist symbols, such as the swastika, many SS symbols, many runes, alongside a shamrock and Celtic iconography, and sometimes even, well, the letter is 666. Okay, and this here, the Aryan Brotherhood of Texas. Now, this is, another Aryan Brotherhood gang, but mainly located in Texas. And the Aryan Brotherhood of Texas is, once again, a white supremacist neo-Nazi gang that is one of the largest and most violent prison gangs in, well, Texas. And they're not really affiliated with the Aryan Brotherhood, the main one. This pretty much is main thing, but they're still very similar. And notable cases happened in 2001 where Mark Anthony Stroman was sentenced to death for his killing spree on Middle Eastern people, as he claimed that it was retaliation for September 11 terrorist attacks. However, all three of his targets were South Asian descent, and he would soon be killed, executed, still same thing, but whatever, by lethal injection on May 20th, 2011. In 2006, former members of the gang were charged with death of a young woman named Breonna Taylor. And according to investigations conducted by the authorities, she was tortured, sexually assaulted, and murdered by all these gang members. After she was killed, they poured acid on her body, and then put her in a bathtub, and then poured cement on it and dumped it into a river. And Dale Gentman had pleaded guilty and received a life sentence, while Jennifer McClain was sentenced to 20 years in prison, and Dale Tiger Jampton is currently held in prison as the time I'm talking about this right now. Okay, I'm just gonna, do a little rush right here because majority of the gangs listed here in the section of the video are the same. They're all, white supremacist gangs. So I'm just gonna, speed one of them fast and then, to get to the others, okay? So, yeah. Nazi lowriders. Nazi lowriders, also known as the NLR or the RIDE, are a neo-Nazi white supremacist organization, crime syndicate, and prison gang and street gang in the United States, primarily based in Southern California. And the gangs is allied with the larger Aryan Brotherhood and Mexican Mafia gangs, alongside other white gangs known as Public Enemy Number 1. And they started out as, a skinhead gang in California Youth Authority during the 1970s, and later established to be a young white inmate-only gang. Started out by really many members of the Aryan Brotherhood, which has soon pushed the idea of white supremacy in the prison system. As they are one of the most violent white criminal gangs in California prisons, and they're a gang of reputation for being that violent as well. And there's a strong numbers of them in California communities such as Oildale, Bakersfield, Lancaster, Inland Empire, Rosemont, and Orange County. And another part of their name is more of a sign of a racist belief in white supremacy and anti-Semitism, while lowriders is a term used for Hispanic gangs, as they're allied with many Hispanic gangs. And the gang has soon eventually progressed from being muscle for the Aryan Brotherhood to a fast-growing gang in their own right. Unlike other white supremacist gangs, they appear to be more organized and have developed links with other white organizations throughout the West Coast, including the Ku Klux Klan, the Hells Angels. And incidents that happened with them were in 1996 in California, there were 2 hate crimes against African Americans in Lancaster, as gang member Eric Dillard and Danny Edward Williams used baseball bats in the beating of Eric Miller outside of a video rental store in 1996. And on July 8th, 1996, Dillard Willard and a juvenile who was not identified because of his age attacked and stabbed Marcus Cotton 4 times in the back. And Williams was sentenced to 57 months imprisonment. And on June 1st, 1988, Dillard was sentenced for 3 years. And on June 7th, 1999, the third defendant was soon tried as a juvenile. And 2 Nazi lowrider members, Sean Brodek and Christopher Crawford, allegedly attacked Nathaniel Harris, an African-American Walmart employee, with a 20-ounce hammer in a store parking lot in Lancaster in 1999. And the pair was arrested and charged with assault with a deadly weapon and civil rights violations. In 2001, Trevor David Thompson wounded Ashley McNeil, a 14-year African-American girl in a drive-by shooting in Annapolis, as Thompson will soon be sentenced 30 years in prison after pleading guilty to attempted murder. Dirty White Boys. Dirty White Boys is a prison gang that originated in Texas during the 1980s. And this is, well, a game that was very involved in, like, drug trafficking. It's not really, like, a whole lot, well, it's not really a whole lot of information about them because they're, like, they're very small. So, yeah, so they are allies to the Aryan Brotherhood, but I don't know if they're still alive. They're still active, so I don't know. As majority of their, well, drug trafficking rings have been dismantled by law enforcement. Alongside, in 2017, a major prosecution has sentenced 89 defendants, members of the Dirty White Boys, members, to a combined, like, total of 100,000 years in prison. Like, that's like how many people got that law. So, damn. The 211 Crew. The 211 Crew, also known as the Aryan Empire or the Aryan Alliance or the Brotherhood of Aryan Alliance, is an American white supremacist gang that's active both outside in prison and inside of prison. As this was formed in 1995 in Colorado Denver County Jail, as it was linked to many high-profile murders and criminal investigations. As those that include the assassination of Colorado Department of Correction head Thomas Clinton's due to a threatened letter sent by a Texas Aryan Brotherhood member, as it was suspected to be linked to similar assassinations of Texas District Attorney Mike McLennan and his assistant prosecutor Mark Hass, and a former justice of the peace eventually indicted for those murders. Very similar to the Aryan Brotherhood, by the way. They use the same tattoos and whatever. The Aryan Circle is another white supremacist neo-Nazi prison gang spread out many U.S. prisons, as it was founded by Mark Cowboy Gasper in 1985 and Texas Department of Corrections, which is a splendid group of the Aryan Brotherhood of Texas. As not really known of how many, well, members are in prison, but as of 2008, it's confirmed that at least 700 confirmed members are in state prisons, but these numbers could be, like, really, well, changed because, you know, people can die in prison and, like, you know, leave. In 2007, Aryan Circle member Dennis Lighthand Clem had killed 2 police officers at Budget Inn Motel in Louisiana. In a shootout, he was also killed. Soldiers of Aryan Culture, another white supremacist gang. Oh my god, there are like so many of them, goddamn. Mainly based in Utah, the SAC has soon branched out to other parts of the nation, but now having members in several state correctional facilities alongside within the federal prison system. And the SAC had first gained significant notoriety in 2002 when members of the group, along with members of the Silent Aryan Warriors, which is another white supremacist prison gang, allegedly planned attack Jewish athletes at the 2002 Winter Olympics held in Salt Lake City using pipe bombs, but it had failed, of course. And a little background of the gang right here. So it was founded by Tracy David Tinman Swinner, I think I said it right. And according to his brother, he had been influenced to establish a white power gang after the Aryan Brotherhood affiliate introduced him to white supremacist literature sometime in the 90s when he was in prison. And prior to that, his brother even said that he was non-racist, who was once part of a multi-racial street gang and was an average hip-hop fan. So, I don't know how that even works. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to be serious. I'm sorry to be serious, but he fucking lying. Universal Aryan Brotherhood, known as the Universal Family, which is an active neo-Nazi white supremacist prison gang in the United States, primarily based out of Oklahoma. As it's modeled itself at the principles and ideologies of the original Aryan Brotherhood, despite the similar name, the Universal Aryan Brotherhood have no connections to the Aryan Brotherhood, just making themselves very independent. In 2011, Chinese-American University of Tulsa student Su Feng He was shot and killed in an attempted carjacking by one of the members of this gang. Billy Joe Hammonds had following a police pursuit from a crime spree that Hammonds had engaged in, and after Su Feng He was gunned down, Hammonds exchanged gunfire with local police and would be soon fatally shot. And there'll even be infighting too, as in 2019, one of the members of the Universal Aryan Brotherhood, Jared Longworthy, was bashed with baseball bats, tortured, and thrown in a pond by a total of 7 fellow gang members, allegedly of destroying an air conditioning unit. Yeah, an air conditioning unit. Okay. This had occurred during the night during a fight with his girlfriend, as Langworthy tattoos was forcibly burnt off his shoulder during the attack, and due to the severity of the beating and inflicted injuries, they were very fatal. In 2015, 6 members of the Irish mob will actually be killed and beheaded and dismembered by Universal Alien Brotherhood members. It was part of the ongoing gang war between both of these gangs. In 2012, Universal Alien Brotherhood prospect Grant Curie had beat up former motorcycle gang member and admitted drug trafficker Anthony Moman to death for cooperating with law enforcement, and the murder was actually caught on surveillance videotape, and it depicts a total of 7 inmates carrying out the murder. Metacame, also known as the Texas Mexican Mafia, is another Mexican-American prison gang and street gang as established in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice prison system in 1984. And it functions separately from the original Mexican Mafia, and members consider themselves primarily tied to the area of Azatlán, which is formerly Mexican territories in southern western United States. And the group engages in a wide range of illegal activities, including drug trafficking, loan sharking, and money laundering. And similar to the Mexican Mafia, they are, kind of allies with them, but they also, known to actually have, many connections to many places in Mexico, even have many connections to many cartels, such as the Juarez Cartel, Go Cartel, and Las Zetas, and even like working as hitmen for them. And for the tattoos, it's similar to Mexican Mafia, when they use the number 13 or many Roman or Aztec numerals for tattoos, and even using some tattoos as little 3 dots for them, alongside including MM as Mexican Mafia, and sometimes even using the Mexican flag alongside many Aztec cultural heritage into tattoos. In 2012, numerous law enforcement agencies collaborated in an investigation that resulted in the arrest of 25 alleged members of the group, including a local law enforcement officer, Michael Mayers of the Alaska, Texas Police. And the indictment had alleged that Mayers had conspired with the group to pretty much provide them with handguns, assault rifles, and hair straights, and even internal police information. And that the group was working to traffic drugs and carry out other illegal gang businesses, including selling many firearms and detention cord, which is, hand restraints. Public Enemy Number 1. Now, Public Enemy Number 1, also known as Pen 1, or PENI, or Death Squad, or PDS, is a prison and street gang formed in Long Beach, California. It's another white prison gang that pretty much operate in many, stuff like identity fraud, credit card fraud, methamphetamine, assault, and even murder. As Public Enemy Number 1 emerged from the hardcore punk scene in Long Beach, California in the 1980s, but by the 1990s, they soon became, a gang where they soon started recruiting many white suburban adolescents and soon began involved in methamphetamine trafficking, prostitution, and identity theft. Alongside the gang had pretty much made many ties with Alien Brotherhood and also lowriders in the prison system. As Lily, one of the gang founders, Lily became a member of the Alien Brotherhood. I'm not joking. And the gang used the numeric symbol 737 to indicate association with the gang, and the number corresponds with the letters P, D, and S on a telephone keypad, which is initial for PENI Death Squad, which is another name for the group. And unlike other gangs, Public Enemy Number 1 is heavily involved with identity theft, which is not a crime associated with other street gangs or prison gangs. Most of their income is allegedly used to finance methamphetamine sales and other operations. Originally, the gang did not, did this by raiding mailboxes and trash cans for personal information, which, I'm gonna say this, cut up your personal stuff when you throw stuff away. Always rip up, cut up your personal things in little pieces when you throw stuff away, because people can, go through your trash and just, find your name, your credit card information, all your stuff, if it's, in, mail and stuff. So make sure you throw it away, cut it up in little pieces so they can't, put it together and, try hacking you, okay? So, yeah. As these can soon be later used inside bank contacts, mortgage companies, and state motor vehicle departments in order to gain access to credit profiles. And this had led to law enforcement agencies requesting that their personal information must be removed so that it can't be used by gang members to identify home addresses of police officers. Alongside, Public Enemy Number 1 is also involved in drug trafficking, auto theft, burglary, even property crime. As in 2010, 50 members of Public Enemy Number 1, the Alien Brotherhood, and Nazi lowriders, and 3 other white supremacist gangs was arrested in Orange County for various federal charges, including criminal fraud, illegal firearms, and narcotic sales, as a result of Operation Stormfront. In 2024, 57 sub-members of Public Enemy Number 1 were arrested after approximately 300 law enforcement officers from about 25 agencies, including the FBI and the U.S. Marshal Services, had carried out raids at 75 locations in Southern California, as 2 handguns, a shotgun, rifle, and small amounts of drugs were also seized. As the arrests were made after the authorities discovered the names of Orange County prosecutor and 5 police officers on the Public Enemy Number 1 hit list a month before. Fresno Bulldogs. Fresno Bulldogs, or BDs for short, they are a primarily Mexican-American criminal street gang and prison gang located in California, and they're considered to be one of the biggest drug gangs in Central California, alongside being really independent, meaning they don't really have any allies. They just do most of the stuff by themselves. And they are pretty much located in the cities of Fresno, Selma, Kernman, Sanger, Clovis, Madra, San Joaquin, Coalinga, Orange Cove, and Avenal. And they are engaged in a wide range of criminal activity, and they are, pretty much have many conflicts with many other prison gangs, as they are really independent. And their history can be traced back to the 1970s, but then it became really independent until the 1980s. As the independence had developed from the California prison system during the prison wars of 1984 to 1985, back when they were still in alliance with the Noventos and the F-14ers, as the gang was known by the F-14. In 1986, the F-14ers had went to war with the Noventos, which led to a violent war in the California prison system, known in gang folklore as the Red Wave, as there was many murders during this time. As soon as the F-14s began using the Bulldog name and the mascot of Fresno State University as their new symbol, including the paw print and Bulldog head image in the graffiti and tattoos. They also bark to one another as they call Bulldog calling in prison, and just each other as Dog, Perro, or Efe. They also adopted the Fresno State apparel as de facto uniforms, which had caused tenfold an increase in many royalties to university from licensed merchandise from the sales to the 1990s or to the thousands, because many people started buying the university merch. And the Fresno Bulldogs are found across in many different neighborhoods and different cities, as they are pretty much many presence in many cities such as Fresno, alongside Clovis, Sanger, which is Sanger they're called Sanger Bangers, Dunba, Wheatley, Kermon, Coalinga, Parlor, Selma, which they are called VCR, and Fowler. And the cities outside Fresno directly are referred to as county dogs, as most sets are referred to by their corresponding neighborhoods inside the city. East Side Bulldogs include neighborhoods located on the Fresno East Side and South Side, and they often represent with their set letters as ESF, or East Side Fresno. Other sets include the Bond Street Bulldogs, McKenzie Street Bulldogs, Fifth Street Bulldogs, Backstreet Bulldogs, Fresno Flats Bulldogs, Kiowa Bulldogs, Lewis Street Bulldogs, Butler Park Bulldogs, Daisy Park Bulldogs. It has a lot of Bulldogs. And they don't have any allies, and are one of the few gangs in California who are unaffiliated with either the Bloods or the Crips or the Serranos or the Noventos. And the main revenue from the street level distribution is cannabis, heroin, and methamphetamine, but there have been many crackdowns on them. Since 2006, Operation Magic was launched to wipe out the Bulldog Street Gang, which had led to the arrest of over 2,000 felony arrests of the Bulldog gang members and associates. However, even when the gang suspicion had increased tactics, the Bulldogs continued to exert an influence on the community, as Bulldog gang members had sometimes even fight each other because of affiliation with another rival Bulldog gang set. And in prison, there is many violence between, Fresno Bulldogs, Noventos, and Serranos. And at the heart of the problem is the Fresno Bulldogs, who had pretty much participated in over 32 battles with other prison gangs from 2018 to 2019, ranging from small fights to full-scale prison riots. European Kindred. This is a prison gang and street gang that began in Oregon prison system. As in 2006, parole and probation officers report that the gang has around 500 members in Oregon prison system, as the EK members have pretty much been prosecuted for violence and are one of the most powerful gangs within the Oregon Department of Corrections. And they are, of course, once again, another white supremacist gang. And the gang has a reputation for extortion, assaults, moving contraband goods throughout the Oregon correctional institutions, and dogfighting. And new members are encouraged to earn their bones through hostile actions consents with the group cause. As consistent to, a county grand jury indicted Joshua Robert Brown, a 21-year-old, on charges of killing Anthony Cleo Wilson, a 47-year-old African-American. As Brown had joined European Kindred in 2000 while serving a 4-year sentence for robbery, after 3 weeks from being released, police claimed that Brown had stabbed Wilson to death. The authorities say Brown's motive may have not been that Wilson, who had been busted for possession of manufacturing of narcotics, who sold them some bad or phony drugs, but they believed it had maybe been a hate crime, which it definitely was, because they're a white supremacist gang. So the Black Guerrilla Family, also known as the BGF, or the Black Family, or the Black Vanguard, or the Jamaah, is an African-American black power prison gang, street gang, and political organization founded in the 1960s by George Jackson and George Big Jake Lewis and W.L. Nolan, while they're incarcerated at San Quentin Prison in Marin County, California. Now, it was founded by George Jackson in San Quentin State Prison during the Black Power movement, inspired by Marcus Garvey. The BGF characterized itself as an ideological African-American Marxist-Leninist gang, revolutionary organization composed of prisoners, as it was founded in its stated goals of promoting black power, maintaining dignity in prison, and overthrowing the United States government. The BGF ideological and economic aims, clearly known as Germanics, are laid out in the group's Black Book, which have been described as one, and this group has been described as one of the most political-oriented prison gangs. And Black Guerrilla Family is one of the main rivals of the Aryan Brotherhood, as they have been fighting since the beginning, and still in prison right now. As I'm talking about this, I'm pretty sure they are probably killing each other in prison right now. And there'll be many, infighting within this gang, as in 1979, former BGF lawyer Faye Stender was shot 5 times by recently paroled Black Guerrilla Family member Edward Glenn Brooks for Stender alleges betrayal of George Jackson. As Brooks forced Stender to state, "I offend Stender admit I betrayed George Jackson in the prison movement where they need me the most." Just before he shot her, Stender was left paralyzed below the waist by the assault and constant pain, and she had soon committed suicide in Hong Kong, shortly after she had testified against Brooks. And Brooks was being sentenced to 17 years imprisonment for Stender attempted murder in 1980. After the death of Huey P. Newton, co-founder of the Black Panther Party, by 25-year Black Guerrilla Family member Tyrone Robinson, as relations between Newton and factions within the Black Guerrilla Family have been strained for nearly 2 decades, as many former Black Panthers who became BGF members in jail were disenchanted with Newton for his perceived abandonment of the imprisoned Black Panther Party members. And Robinson will soon be convicted for murder in 1991 and sentenced for 32 years for the crime. And in 2015, during the Baltimore protests and riots, the police had stated that the Black Guerrilla Family and the Bloods and Crips were teaming up to target police officers. However, leaders of both the Bloods and the Crips had denied the allegations and released a video statement asking for claim and peaceful protests in the area, and even joined with the police in Quincy to enforce the curfew. And they are still active in, prison, mainly in Maryland. Okay, a little added this here. I forgot to mention this, but this part of Black Guerrilla Family too. So back in 2015, there was an incident where one member had pretty much got 4 correctional officers in the prison in Baltimore, Maryland, pregnant, because he said that, "Oh, I'm in charge of this jail. I can do whatever I want," and he pretty much was dating them, and they were giving him like contraband outside of prison. It was just a very crazy incident. The Bloods. Now, the Bloods are mainly a street gang, but they do have many factions within the prison gang. Primarily the United Blood Nation, which is the East Coast Bloods, which have operated in Rikers Island in 1993. And these gangs was composed of various sets of larger Bloods. And United Blood Nation was pretty much created to pretty much protect many Blood members inside of prison, alongside even extended outside of prison in New York. And it became one of the dominant gangs in the East Coast side during the 1990s, outnumbering the rival Crips in the East Coast. And the gang Maverick had rose to the top of the gang hierarchy, but was halted in 2001. When the founder of the gang, Omar Porti, was arrested and later convicted of federal racketeering, influence, and corrupt Organizations Act charges, as he was sentenced for 50 years imprisonment and is currently incarcerated. And after his years of being arrested, the UBN has split into somewhat infighting among the gang subgroups have been reported. And unlike prison gangs and other street gangs, the Bloods well, East Coast Bloods and some like sets of Bloods are kind of diverse, as members of the games are mostly African American males, sometimes Asian, Hispanic, and white American males, alongside even allowing female members. And to become a member of the United Blood Nation, one must be introduced by an existing gang member to prove who's the most dominant, alongside even like getting beat up for 31 seconds. Yeah. And the symbol that the UBN often use is gang graffiti that includes the letter C crossed out, abbreviations known as CK for Crip Killer, and the number 031 and the letter S crossed out for slobs, which is offensive nickname for Bloods. Alongside, Crip Killer pretty much meaning, the Bloods' main rival, Crips. And gang tattoos often include 3 dots representing a dog paw, bulldogs, MOB, means member for Bloods, or money over bitches. In notable cases with this group, what happened on 2017 when 83 members of the 19 gangsters factions of the UBN were arrested and indicted on federal racketeering conspiracy charges and charges related to the murder, attempted murder, violent assault, narcotic distribution, firearm possession, and identity theft. As the arrests were made during a series of coordinated raids involving 600 federal, state, and local law enforcement officers in North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, New York, and Florida, as 82 people were convicted and was the result of the investigation, including Pedro Gutierrez, the chairman of the UBN, who was sentenced to 20 years imprisonment in 2018. Alongside in 2018, Brooklyn, New York rapper Tekashi 6ix9ine, his manager Kiafo Shadi, Jordan, and 10 other members of 19 gangster factions were arrested and charged with racketeering and various felony crimes. 6ix9ine had turned the state evidence against the gang and his member, who he had formed an association with the gang to gang street credibility. As he would soon be released in 2020, as 6ix9ine was a snitch and he's a fake. Yeah, he's a fake. I don't care. I know people can be like, he's a real blood. He's a fake. He spent 15 seconds in O Block. He was scared. That scary motherfucker.
Here, this what y'all wanted me in Chicago. This O Block right here. I should call this shit No Block. It's 10 o'clock. Where the fuck y'all niggas at? Niggas ain't outside. It's only 10 p.m. Where the fuck y'all niggas at, blood?
O Block.
Kids, yeah, I went to O Block.
At 4 in the morning, though.
4 in the morning. I was there. I was chilling. You know what's so crazy? That's just gated. It's gated. There's no way you gotta get in. To get in, you gotta go through like the little booth, like cop booth, and you gotta prove that you live there, like residents. I was there chilling.
Because now we saw the surveillance video. You was there for like 30 seconds.
Nah, it was actually like for like 15
seconds.
Hermano Pistolo Latinos, also known as Latin Gunfighter Brothers, or sometimes called the Brotherhood of Latin Gunmen, is a Mexican-American prison gang founded by Chino Iveta in Texas in the early 1980s, as both inside and outside of Texas prisons, particularly in Laredo, as HPL is active along several parts of the border, with the stronghold being neighborhood Navarro Laredo. And the group estimated to have up to 1,000 members, as members maintain ties to several Mexican cartels and are involved in trafficking quantities of marijuana and cocaine from the United States, from Mexico, along the border. Puro Tingo Blast. Puro Tingo Blast, or Tingo Blast, is a street gang and prison gang that is operated in Texas. This is another independent prison gang that is mainly operated in many places in Houston, Dallas, Fort Worth, and Austin, as they pretty much banded together to pretty much protect themselves from many other prison gangs like Metacame, Texas Syndicate, Barrio Azteca, and even Crip gangs. In turn, Tingo Blast initially does not refer to a separate group, but rather to the particularly Tingo member that is more criminally active than others. As pretty much, the acronym is pretty much mean this: Together Against Negative Gang Organizations. And unlike other prison gangs, their hierarchy is pretty much lacking the typical strict hierarchy of many organizations. And they don't even have to follow orders. They just attend organized meetings or pay other Tingo members to be pretty active. And they also do not have to participate in any gang activities when they're out of prison, so they can just leave. Okay, that's pretty new. And there's no consistent pathway for initiation into a Tingo, rather than this each individual set of Tingo members determines who admits and what they do. And one initiative method is called a Cora check, or a test of the heart, which the potential member must engage in physical combat with 2 or more members, provided that he does not surrender during the melee attacks, and he's soon into the gang. And there's 4 chapters of the gang, which are in, 4 cities, which the tank goes from Austin, Dallas, Fort Worth, and Houston, who are known as the 4 Horsemen. And individual Tango members usually regionally appropriate symbols as tattoos to identify the Tango to which they belong. Generally, Tango members identify themselves by a sports team logo or area codes in their hometown or area. As H-Town's members who are from Houston often use the Houston, Texas logo. The D-Town members are from Dallas, as they may use the Dallas Cowboy star. The Fortorios, or F-Town members, who are known as Foros, who are from Fort Worth, you either use the 817 area code, a star with the 817 code in the center, which sometimes is similar to a pentagram. The ATX, or A-Town members, who are from Austin, may use the Texas Capitol building symbols as well, the tattoos. DC Blacks. DC Blacks is an African American prison gang in the United States whose members are from Washington, D.C., and they are aligned with the Black Guerrilla family and other black prison gangs. During the 1960s or 1970s is when it's rumored to be where the gang had originated. But being in prison, the DC Blacks became enemies with another prison gang called the Aryan Brotherhood, which is a group consisting of only, white men, and there'll be many race wars against the DC Blacks, which caused the federal prison system as in the early 1980s, all the way up to the 2000s, as the Aryan Brotherhood and DC Blacks were pretty much engaged in many prison fights. In 1981, a member of the Aryan Brotherhood, Thomas Silverstein, murdered a member of the DC Blacks, Robert M. Chappelle. An FBI investigation was sparked when Chappelle's body was found dead in his cell at the United States Penitentiary in Illinois. As race wars soon continued when Silverstein had killed the national leader of the DC Blacks, Raymond Cadillac Smith, on 1982. An violent campaign against the DC Blacks was at the center of the government 2002 indictment against the Aryan Brotherhood, when one of the leaders of the Aryan Brotherhood allegedly ordered the 1997 killing of 2 DC Blacks in Lewisburg with an invisible ink message written in urine. This message was soon sent to Lewisburg to warn their other members that DC Blacks called hits on their 2 members. And messages have begun going back to back between the 2 penitentiaries, calling hits on both gangs. And even though they are small, they are still active in many penitentiaries across America. Kumi 415. Kumi African Nation, which is also referred to Kumi 415, is a predominantly African American prison gang that was originally formed in Folsom State Prison in the mid-1980s, and founding members were mainly from the San Francisco Bay Area. Alongside with the Crips and Bloods, Kumi 14 members have recently provided recruitment polls for Black Guerrilla family during the 1970s. A gang with similarly large numbers in the Bay Area in Northern California. In Monterey County Jail, brief alliances have been reported among the Bloods and Crips in Kumi 415 during the period leading up to Stanley Williams' execution. And Kumi is Swahili for number 10, as the sum of 415 is 10, and is also referred to the San Francisco area code. And this gang has been reported in Folsom State Prison, Monterey County Jail, Pelican State Prison, alongside many other, correctional facilities in California. And Kumi African Nation is also known for many tattoos, with pretty much representing African culture, as many tattoos, even pictures Africa itself in the tattoos, alongside depicts a Euro, or African warrior, rising up from the outline from the continent of Africa. In his left hand holds a machine gun, and his right hand holding a flag bearing the numbers 415. As these symbols pretty much represent African orientation within the gang, as both for the Black Guerrilla family and Kumi African Nation, which is majority of Black Power gang. Alongside both of these gangs even encourage their members to learn Mau Mau history and words drawn from Swahili language, which they use to communicate with each other, so it would not be accessible to outsiders. So pretty much code talking. Dead Man Incorporated, or DMI, or Dead Man Inc. This is a predominantly white organized crime enterprise, as it was founded in prison and has members in many Christian facilities in the streets throughout Maryland and other United States. Founded by Perry Rourke, James Sweeney, and Brian Jordan in late 1990s in the Maryland Department of Corrections. Rourke was a close associate of the Black Guerrilla family and received permission from them to start an organization to unite the white inmates in the system. And the gang had grew in size, grew to the infiltration by a man named Michael Quinn, who joined to secure protection for himself, as he recruited anybody who wanted to join in every location. as Sweeney had sought members as opposed to the quality, as he thought numbers had bought strength, which it really doesn't a bit. At first, when the gang got started, they were just like a little like group that people did many services for many gangs until they did stuff by themselves. As they haven't made many activities such as drug trafficking, assault, and even contract killing. And there were many infighting within the gang, as many members pretty much wanted the gang to either be, well, a white supremacist ideology gang or just be its own thing. As one of the tattoos of this gang is usually a pyramid with an eye, which is supposed to like represent the Illuminati a bit. Alongside in 2011, when a federal grand jury in Baltimore had charged 22 defendants with conspiracy to participate in violent racketeering enterprises, but all but one defendant was also charged doing this. It is very a bit unknown of how many members they have, as some say they have around 300 and some say they have around 4,000. And once I just like found this out, one of the members, John Thomas Gordon, he was in the January 6th United States Capitol Hill attack. He was sentenced to 6 months for his participation, but I'm pretty sure he probably got like, well, pardoned or all his charges dropped because, yeah, that happened. Barrio Azteca. Barrio Azteca, or Los Azteca, is a Mexican-American street gang and prison gang originally based in El Paso, Texas, and Ciudad Juarez in Chihuahua, Mexico. The gang was formed in a Cofield unit located near Tennessee Colony, Texas, by Jose Waldo Rivera, a prisoner from El Paso. It has soon expanded into a transnational criminal organization that had traded mainly across the United States border. It is clearly one of the most violent gangs in the United States. And they even like work for, well, mini cartels as for contract killing, either like bring in drugs into America, or sometimes, well, even working for the cartel in Mexico. And there'll even be, well, another massacre within the prison in Mexico, as a fierce battle between rival drug trafficking organizations have broke loose inside a prison on the outskirts of Ciudad Juarez on the 5th of March 2009, which resulted in the death of 20 inmates. It took guards, police, and Mexican military more than 3 hours to put down the unrest inside the prison. And in 2010, there will be, well, initial report that an unknown gunman of a drug trafficking organization has shot and killed a pregnant United States coastal woman and her husband in broad daylight in Ciudad Juarez, leaving a baby wailing in the backseat of the car. Later on the same day, the gunman had killed the husband of another consulate worker and wounded his 2 young children. And the shooting had took place in different locations, as it was the first deadly attack against U.S. officials and their families from the Mexican criminal organization. As the attack had came during a violent week across Mexico, where there were 50 people that were killed across the country. And this killing had angered the White House, who had quietly allowed the families of United States consulate workers to live across the border in Texas even before they were killed. The weapon, as evidence provided by the United States intelligence and Mexican authorities, had pointed out to Barrio Azteca as perpetrators. And the day after the killing, the United States Department of State authorized temporary departure of the workers in the United States throughout northern Mexico, including cities of Tijuana, Nogales, and Monterrey. As leader of the Barrio Azteca, Arturo Castellon, better known as his nickname El Farmero, ordered the executions of 2 American consulate workers and a Mexican with ties to the agency in Ciudad Juarez. And the symbols of the gang mainly include the acronym BA, which stands for Barrio Azteca, 21, which represents the second letter of the alphabet and the first letter of the alphabet A, and an Aztec Indian head, which is often used as the gang symbol. And they are one of the most dangerous gangs in North America. Oh, okay, there it is, everybody. All other prison gangs in the United States explained. Yeah, I had really fun making this video. It's pretty much show that prison is also dangerous when you go inside, and prison system is very corrupt and very, very bad, because many people, it's supposed to be made for rehabilitate people, but people will still kill each other inside, do drugs inside, and smuggle a lot of stuff inside. I also want to say this to anybody who's been in jail. If you're watching this, how do y'all get phones in there? Like, I really want to know that. But I gotta say, don't go to prison. Do good things. Do not go to prison. It's dangerous. People die in there. Guards are corrupt. She's in there. He's in there. So that's all I gotta say. I don't know what else to say now. Instead, I'm really tired. So have a good day or night or evening or daylight or whatever or whatever time it is for you. Until I see you again, stay hydrated, y'all. Peace.